My name is Deisy Rodríguez and they are.
And my name is Hernández.
And my name is Graciela Carmen Aguirre.
We are studying the Languages Studies degree at the Universidad Juárez Autónoma de Tabasco. We are taking the subject Second Language Learning, and in this video we are going to hold a discussion about the first and second language acquisition processes. This content is based on the first and fourth chapters of the book How Languages Are Learned from Lightbrown and Spada. So let's start. First of all, how is the mother tongue acquired?
Well, according with the book that we read, first language is acquired in different stages. For example, with the baby is in the womb, he can recognize or know the language that the other people talk for his mother. And also the other stages are different.
For example, the baby cry. When the baby cries, they demonstrate feelings, or when they want to demonstrate something. For example, if they want to eat. Other thing is that at 12 months, the baby start to say words. At least they start to say one or two words that they learn. And other things is that when they is 2 years, they start to say more words than they say before. For at least they have to say 50 words, maybe.
Yes, and then they start saying what is known as telegraphic sentences. They don't use grammatical morphemes or function words. They just use content words, and they create short phrases to express what they want. So, which are the most important theories that try to explain second language acquisition?
Yes, the first theory is the Hybrids by B.F. Skinner in 1957, and this theory has 4 important points: stimulus, practice, feedback, and imitation from the child and the people are around.
Yes, as you said, they would imitate what they get from the people around them, and by practicing they would get positive or negative feedback, and then form habits of correct language use. There was also another theory.
There is other theories that is the innocence by Chomsky in the 50s, and he said that the child start or learn a language automatically, because he said that the baby or the child born with a capacity to learn a new language, and also the child is programmed to learn that language.
Yes, and Chomsky said that we all have an universal grammar, and that's what helps us learn the language. And also there was another theory, the critical period hypothesis, which said that animals, including humans, are born with an ability to learn a language.
But that, or the language that we learn or acquire, in this case, have to or is in a specific time, because if the person acquire or try to acquire the language before after the critical period, will be difficult for the person because
Or even impossible to learn the language.
yes,
Because the brain becomes hard. Yes, it's as you grow up, it's limited the capacity that the brain can develop. So it's critical. It's a critical period in which you have to learn before maybe 11 years old.
yes,
And also there was another theory from the cognitive perspective, the physical interaction. And the child using his or her senses to experiment, to learn by touching, feeling, and everything related with the environment. Yes. Talking about the social perspective, there are two theories: social interaction and also cross-cultural research.
about social interaction by Vygotsky in the 1978. This theory is important the relation that child have with the other people, maybe adults are around he, because in this case the adult have knowledge about the language that the child going or are learning. So when the child have a conversation with that person, they the child is acquire the language or that knowledge that the other person have.
Yes, this has shown a proximal development where language will extend their language abilities, and also by scaffolding, by that structure you say, they can keep improving on the language and eventually have fluency. Okay, and the last relevant theory about first language acquisition is the one proposed by Dennis Lovin and Catherine Snow in the 70s. This is the cross-cultural research, and what is this theory about?
Maybe I think that cross-cultural research is when child know when adults modify the way as they speak with other adults, and the way that adults speak with children.
Yes.
Maybe they learn the differences about that way of speak that the adults maybe.
Yes, the authors studied the ways in which adults modify their speech with children, because the difference in speech are clear between communities, and culture has big influence there.
Yes, I think that is important, the culture, because the culture here or in other communities, countries are different. For that, the culture is different. The way for the people talk for the babies are different.
The next topic is the second language acquisition. How is the second language acquired?
About the second language, how it's acquired. It's a little bit different because the process is different and the person have knowledge about the first language. That sometimes the people have an interference with the other language.
Having the knowledge of a first language will interfere in the second language acquisition.
Maybe they use or try to use the same rules or the same structure when it's different.
So, talking about second language acquisition, there were also some theories that were taken from first language acquisition to second language context. So, which are the most relevant theories for second language acquisition?
Well, in second language acquisition, an important theory is behaviorism by Nelson Brooks and Robert Lado. And the elements in this theory in the second language are almost the same in the first language. Imitation, practice, feedback, and stimulus. But here are two more, mimicry and memorization. And the difference also is the experience with the first language. The other things are the same here.
There is also another perspective that is the innatings that by Chomsky, and he said that this theory, the universal grammar, are important for the first language acquisition and second language acquisition, I think.
So there was another theory related to the innatism, which was Stephen Krashen's monitor model. This model was explained in 5 hypotheses, in which he said that at first we might acquire the language even unconsciously, and that also we would follow we would learn in predictable sequences, and our brain would work as a monitor. Similar to a computer, with the knowledge we have of the language, we would edit some parts, and we already know how the language works, its function and its rules. So we would modify it in order to make improvement and also make some changes. He considered a very important thing, which is the affective filter, and he thought that the emotional state of the learner would affect his language learning process. If he was sad or if he was anxious, that would be a negative effect on his language learning process. By 2000, Robert de Keyser and Richard Smith proposed their information processing theory. What was this theory about? They said that learners would learn language by using cognitive resources, that is, paying attention. Once they paid attention, they acquired the knowledge and they would understand. That knowledge they have would eventually be understood in a way that becomes easier to practice. So there would come the time in which they would have an automatic access to the knowledge they have. So the declarative knowledge, all these rules and the structure, let's say theory they had about language would become procedural knowledge. That is, that through practice they would use it in the conversation, when they talk, when they speak, when they read, and in time they will eventually forget that they first had declarative knowledge, that they had it just as a knowledge, but they would practice it. So they would eventually forget as they become fluent, as they master the language. The next theory is the usage-based.
This theory is by Nick Ellis in 2002, and in this theory the context is important, because when the person who is learning the second language have a connection between future's language with the context, because when he acquire the knowledge about that second language, know the structure or maybe the grammar about grammar about the language.
He learns made phrases and chunks
Yes.
and how they are used in the context, so he can understand the meaning and also use them.
Yes, you're right.
And the competition model by Elizabeth Bates and Brian McWhiney is
And
about
yes, this series in 1981 and it's about cues that are important because have specific functions about language and also examples because maybe when the person that is learning a second language here is something or some examples about from other person that example have a specific or particular meaning. For example, words or maybe the order or grammatical order. With that form, they can learn about that second language.
and Michael Long suggested very important things about interaction in 1983. What did he say?
Well, in interaction hypothesis, Michael Long said that conversational interaction is important for the second language acquisition, and also the interlocutor are important in that theory because they maybe the speaker negotiates meanings in order to the learner understand or keep more easily that language maybe.
So another important theory is noticing. Richard Smith said that noticing is an essential step to start learning a language. And what is to notice? To notice is to give attention to what you are learning, is somehow being aware that you are learning. But he also said that it can be unconscious. So it was quite criticized. It was quite criticized because it didn't have a.
I think here for that person, Smith, for he is important, as the name say, notice something important about the language, about the language. Maybe something particular, something
A
important.
specific picture.
Yes. For he, I think it's important here in this theory.
But there is also the processability theory.
By Kahneman in 1981. Here, he said that the person who is learning a second language have a certain level about, or the certain level can the person can understand the second language because the person have knowledge about the first language, and this and that influence in here.
Yes, he said that people have different learning levels of learning capacity, but that we all learn in the same sequence. We learn the same features in the same order, but maybe some people do it first than others.
And the last theory is by Lourdes Ortegas in 2007, that is practice base. The practice is important for learn a new language. This theory has three important points. That is interactive and meaningful and task essential focus forms. That is, and those three points are important to learn or to practice for a new languages.
The next question is, in which aspects are these theories alike? These theories from first language acquisition and the ones for second language acquisition.
Well, about the first theories, cognitive theories, the elements are almost the same. For example, the case at behaviorists are the same elements: imitation, practice, feedback, and stimulus. And also about inatives, universal grammar and the critical period are important for learn a second language.
And also, all those theories try to explain how a person acquire a new language, but in different environments. I think maybe it could be
Yes, as you
similar.
said, they all recognize that the environment and the relationship with people, with speakers, is important.
Yes.
But they give those elements different concepts and different certain importance. As we are going to share it.
Yes, in social theories, the speaker is relevant in both in the first language and the second language because the speaker help the other person that is learning a second language or is acquiring a first language.
And also, as we saw, for the second language acquisition, there was added the theory of the monitor model. So it was a new theory that we tried to explain that. And well, what are the differences between these theories?
As you mentioned, in a second language, in cognitive theories, is at the contrastive analysis hypothesis with mimicry and memorization behaviors at second language.
The perspectives, the inatives gave more importance in the research to the learner performance, while psychologists were thinking more about the processes, the mental processes. And as we saw earlier, the social theories, the social theories give importance to the conversation in a more interactive way. And lastly, why are these theories important? How do they help us to understand the language learning processes?
I think the important or something like helps are the elements. Know the elements. For example, at the first language, how maybe we learn or acquire first language, and also the important or about second language is necessary. I think know the elements that are necessary for acquire or learn a second language, because if we don't know that elements, maybe we will learn in a incorrect form a second language.
It's better to be conscious about the processes involved in our learning and it can help us to have a better performance. And also, those theories influenced the way in which teachers did their work, and also teaching training. Even teachers well influenced by the behaviorism. So those methods created for teaching were based on this theory.
Yes, and I think that each theory has a point that contributes to the process of learning. Each theory has something interesting to contribute to the process learning in a new language, maybe.
Yes, and also there is more technology nowadays that can help to understand how the brain works while learning a language. So I think that in the future there will be even more corpus to work on and also to help us.
Yes, we can maybe combine that element with the technology in nowadays.
Yes, and even though none of these theories is the ultimate one or the ideal one,
Yes.
having all those ideas have brought us to the level of language education that we have now. It's not the same learn a language today that it was 100 years ago. So I think the theories have done a very important and essential work in language.
Yes.